Okay, so you want to buy a bowling alley. You have a building in mind. You can already picture it. The sound of pins crashing, families on a Friday night, kids eating pizza, cash coming in every time someone rents a lane. It seems simple enough. People show up, they bowl, they pay, they leave. That's what it looks like from the outside. But here's what's actually happening inside that building, and why some bowling center owners quietly pocket $2 or $3 million a year, while others can't keep the lights on despite a full parking lot every weekend. Let's start with what you're actually buying. Most people imagine they're buying a room with some lanes in it. They are not. They are buying one of the most machinery-heavy entertainment businesses that exists in any American city or town. The comparison people don't make but should is to a small hotel. A hotel has elevators that break, plumbing that fails, HVAC systems that give out at the worst moment, and electrical systems running 24 hours a day. A bowling center has all of that, plus an entirely separate layer of specialized mechanical equipment that doesn't exist in any other business on Earth. Walk through the front door of a modern bowling center and count what's in there. You have the lane surfaces themselves, engineered synthetic boards built to precise friction specifications that have to hold up to thousands of 16-pound balls every single week. Beneath those surfaces is a precision-leveled subfloor that took a team of specialists weeks to install correctly. At the end of every lane sits a pin setter machine, a mechanical device that has to clear fallen pins, respot a full set of 10, and do it again thousands of times per day without failing. Below the lane deck, hidden from view, is the ball return system, a network of motors, tracks, and lift mechanisms that carry bowling balls back to the bowler after every throw. Then there's the overhead scoring system, the screens, the cameras, the software servers. That's just the bowling part. Now add the kitchen, commercial-grade fryers, conveyor pizza ovens, walk-in refrigeration units, prep stations, ventilation hoods. Add the full bar, draft beer glycol cooling lines, liquor display systems, glass washers. Add the arcade floor, card swipe machines, redemption game cabinets, prize kiosks. Add the party rooms, the lounge seating, the sound system, the LED lighting arrays controlled by computer, and the parking lot large enough for 200 cars on a Saturday. Because if you run out of parking, customers leave before spending $1. Every one of those systems eventually breaks. Every machine degrades. The question is never whether something will go wrong. The question is whether you have the cash reserves and trained staff to fix it before it costs you a Saturday night. That is the first thing you need to understand before you spend a single dollar. Now let's talk about what it actually costs to open one of these places. The total startup investment for a commercial bowling center in the United States today ranges from around $500,000 on the very low end. For a small boutique venue with 4 to 8 lanes, all the way past $8 million for a full-scale family entertainment center with 30 or more lanes, a restaurant, a bar, and an arcade floor. Here's how that money breaks down. The land or building lease is usually your single largest cost before you even touch equipment. In a suburban market in states like Texas, Ohio, or the Carolinas, you're looking at commercial leases of anywhere from $15 to $30 per square foot per year for the kind of large clear span space a bowling center needs. A 32-lane center might require 40,000 square feet or more. Run that math. You'll be paying rent before a single customer walks through the door. If you're building from scratch, commercial construction costs in the United States currently run roughly $150 to $250 per square foot, depending on the market and the finishes. A 40,000 square foot building at $200 per square foot is $8 million in construction alone, before you've bought a single piece of bowling equipment. Then comes the equipment, a single commercial bowling lane, fully installed, including the lane surface, the pin setter, the scoring system, the ball return, and all the wiring, costs between $30,000 and $65,000 per lane in today's market. If you're opening a 16-lane center, that's $500,000 to over $1 million just in lane equipment. For 32 lanes, you can double that. Then the kitchen setup, between $75,000 and $250,000 for a commercial kitchen capable of handling a busy weekend crowd. The bar, another $30,000 to $80,000. Point-of-sale software, digital reservation systems, security cameras, and Wi-Fi infrastructure, $20,000 to $60,000. Your liquor license alone, depending on which state you're in, can cost anywhere from a few $1,000s to over $100,000. Some municipalities in states like California or New York have waiting lists years long for new liquor licenses. And before you open the doors, you need operating reserves, cash on hand to cover payroll, inventory, and early losses during the ramp-up period. Industry benchmarks suggest keeping a minimum of $100,000 to $300,000 in the bank for this purpose. Add it all together and you begin to see the picture. A mid-sized center with 16 to 20 lanes, a full food menu, a bar, and an arcade floor realistically requires somewhere between $2.5 million and $5 million to open. A large-scale venue in a prime suburban market can push past $8 million before you've served your first beer or rented your first pair of shoes. One more thing that belongs in the startup conversation, and it doesn't show up on any equipment invoice location. A bowling center is an immovable asset. Once you've built it, you can't pick it up and move it to a better street. If the market around you changes, a major employer leaves town, the demographics shift, a highway reroute redirects traffic away from your exit, you're stuck with what you built. The wrong location, even with a beautiful facility and excellent management, can make profitability nearly impossible. The markets where bowling centers consistently succeed share a few specific characteristics. They have a dense concentration of families with children, because birthday parties and weekend outings are among the most reliable revenue drivers in the business. They have a strong base of young adults between 21 and 35, because that demographic drives late-night bar sales and weekend social visits. They have proximity to business parks or corporate office clusters, because those companies become your weekday event clients. And they have enough household income in the surrounding area that spending $40 or $50 on a lane for 2 hours is an easy, normal decision. A well-financed bowling center in a low-income market with no corporate offices nearby will struggle no matter how good the food is. An average center in a dense, affluent suburb outside Dallas or Atlanta, with a school district full of kids and a dozen corporate offices within 3 miles, will stay busy almost by default. Location isn't just important in this business. Location is the business. Here is where most aspiring owners make their first mistake. They look at those numbers and think, those are startup costs. Once I'm open, the money flows in. What they don't account for is what it costs just to exist, every single month, before a single customer walks through the door. Let's walk through it. Your mortgage payment or commercial lease is due on the first of every month, regardless of whether it snows, regardless of whether a school lets out early, regardless of whether a competitor opens down the street. For a mid-sized center, that lease or debt payment might run $15,000 to $40,000 per month. Then there's payroll. A bowling center needs front desk staff. It needs kitchen staff, line cooks, prep cooks, a kitchen manager. It needs servers and bartenders. It needs mechanics. Traditional pin setter machines are complex pieces of equipment with thousands of moving parts, and fixing them requires a trained technician called a pin setter mechanic, who earns between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. You need cleaning crews. You need a general manager. If you run weekend late-night sessions, you may need security staff. For a mid-sized center, total labor commonly runs between 25% and 35% of gross revenue. On $2 million in annual revenue, that's $500,000 to $700,000 leaving your bank account every year just in wages. Then utilities. A bowling center is an electricity-eating machine. You have massive HVAC systems, heating and cooling, a building the size of an airplane hangar. You have kitchen equipment running all day. You have dozens of arcade machines drawing power around the clock. You have LED lighting systems, scoring monitors, overhead display screens, and if you have traditional pin setter machines, their motors run continuously the entire time you're open. For a medium-sized center, monthly electricity bills routinely run $8,000 to $15,000 or higher in peak months. Then maintenance and repairs. Every machine in your building will break. Pin setter belts wear out. Ball returns jam. Refrigeration units fail. Ovens stop working on a Saturday night. Industry veterans budget between 5% and 10% of revenue annually for maintenance and unexpected repairs. On a $2 million center, that's $100,000 to $200,000 per year held in reserve for things breaking. Then there's insurance. Commercial property insurance, general liability, liquor liability, workers' compensation. A full-service bowling center with a bar can face combined insurance premiums of $50,000 to $150,000 per year, and property taxes, which vary by state and municipality, but can add tens of thousands of dollars more to your annual fixed cost base. Now add it all up. For a mid-sized bowling center, generating around $2 million a year in revenue, your fixed annual expenses, before you've counted the cost of a single pizza, a single bottle of liquor, or a single arcade card, might look something like this. Lease or debt payment around $360,000, payroll around $600,000, utilities around $130,000, maintenance and repairs around $180,000, insurance around $80,000, other overhead, accounting, and licensing around $50,000. That's over $1,300,000 in fixed costs before you've accounted for what it costs to actually make the food and drinks you sell. That's the reality of being inside this business. It's not a question of whether money comes in. It's a question of whether enough money comes in fast enough to stay ahead of that number. If you're finding this breakdown useful, now would be a great time to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It helps us keep making content like this. Here's the thing that surprises most people who haven't owned one of these businesses. The lanes are almost the least important part. Yes, lane rentals generate revenue. A modern bowling center charges between $20 and $55 per lane per hour for open play, with premium pricing on Friday and Saturday nights pushing that higher. Shoe rentals add another $4 to $6 per person. But the physical capacity of the lanes limits how much money you can make from bowling alone. A 20-lane center can only serve so many customers simultaneously. The real money comes from everything else: food and drinks. This is where experienced operators quietly build their margins. The gross profit on food at a well-run bowling center runs 65 to 75%. The gross profit on alcohol, particularly draft beer and cocktails, runs 75 to 85%. That means for every dollar of alcohol you sell, you keep somewhere between 75 and 85 cents after paying for the product itself. Think about what that means in practice. A group of 4 adults shows up on a Friday night and rents a lane for 2 hours. They pay $45 per hour for the lane, $90. They pay $24 for 4 pairs of shoes. But then they order 2 rounds of drinks, 4 beers each time, 8 beers at $9 each, $72 in drinks. They share a large pizza for $22, a basket of wings for $16. Their total tab is over $200. The lane rental was less than half of what that group spent. A single table at a birthday party. Parents buying a package for 12 children can easily generate over $1,000 in a 2-hour window. That's not an accident. Successful bowling centers are designed around this math. Speaking of birthday parties, this is one of the most reliable profit mechanisms in the entire business. Birthday packages at modern family entertainment centers typically include reserved lane for 2 hours, food platters, drinks, shoe rentals, and a dedicated staff host who manages the party so the parents don't have to do anything. Packages are typically priced at between $25 and $50 per child, meaning a party of 12 kids generates between $300 and $600 in package revenue alone. And that number doesn't count the adult meals, the extra rounds of drinks, or the cash the kids spend on the arcade after bowling. What makes this particularly valuable from a business standpoint is timing. Birthday parties happen on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, historically the hardest slot to fill because most walk-in customers prefer evening bowling. By filling those daytime slots with birthday packages, an operator converts what would be mostly empty lanes into predictable, high-yield revenue. Many centers now require a non-refundable deposit to hold a party booking, which also protects cash flow if the family cancels. Corporate events do the same thing, but for weekdays. Monday through Thursday afternoons are the enemy of a bowling center's profitability. The lanes sit idle, fixed costs keep running, payroll still has to be paid. Corporate bookings solve this problem. Companies rent full sections of a bowling center, sometimes the entire facility, for team building events, holiday parties, client entertainment, and employee appreciation nights. The critical difference between a corporate customer and a walk-in customer is price sensitivity. Corporations are spending a company budget, not their own money. They are focused on the experience, the catering quality, and the convenience of the venue handling everything. They are not comparison shopping on price. Corporate groups spending on open bar packages, catered dinner, and reserved VIP lanes routinely generate between $45 and $150 per head. A corporate event with 80 attendees spending $100 each produces $8,000 in a single afternoon on a Wednesday. That is how the lights stay on during the week. There's another layer to the revenue model that smart operators have been using aggressively: dynamic pricing. This is the same idea airlines and hotels have used for decades. The price of the same lane changes depending on when you book and how much demand exists at that moment. A lane on a Tuesday afternoon might be priced at $20 per hour. That same lane on a Saturday evening might cost $55. And if a holiday weekend is coming up with those Saturday slots filling fast, the price climbs automatically. Modern point-of-sale software manages these rules automatically. Early adopters of dynamic pricing in the bowling industry have reported revenue per lane improvements of around 12% compared to flat static pricing. On $2 million in annual revenue, that's $240,000 additional dollars per year. Often the difference between a center that's marginally profitable and one that's comfortably profitable. Then there are VIP premium lanes, dedicated, semi-private sections with upgraded lounge seating, reserved waitstaff, and controlled ambient lighting. These command premiums of 15 to 30% above standard rates and appeal to corporate groups, special occasion parties, and couples wanting a date night that feels elevated. The cost of the seating upgrade is minimal compared to what customers willingly pay for the experience. Now, let's talk about a group of customers that gets overlooked in almost every conversation about the bowling business: league bowlers. League bowlers are people who commit to bowling every single week on the same night for an entire season that can run 12 to 36 weeks. They pay their dues at the start of each season. They show up whether it's raining, whether it's cold, whether they're tired from work. They are, financially speaking, the most reliable customers in the building. Most league nights run on weekday evenings, Mondays through Thursdays, typically starting at 6 or 7 in the evening. These are the exact hours that casual walk-in customers don't come. League bowlers fill those lanes, generate consistent bar sales and food orders every week, and build a baseline of cash flow that covers a significant portion of the center's fixed monthly overhead. The largest bowling company in the United States, Bowlero, which rebranded itself as Lucky Strike Entertainment in late 2024 after years of acquiring centers across the country, generates over $1 billion in annual revenue. The company built much of its empire by acquiring older, struggling bowling centers, investing in renovations, upgrading the food and beverage program, and retaining the league bowler base as a stable revenue floor while building the corporate event and social entertainment business on top of it. Here's something most people don't realize changes the financial math significantly: the pin setter at the end of each lane. Traditional pin setter machines, the kind that have been standard in American bowling alleys for decades, are mechanical marvels. They have over 3,000 moving parts: gears, belts, motors, sweepers, sensor arrays. When they work, they work. When they break, and they will break, it takes a specialized technician to fix them. That technician earns between $30,000 and $60,000 per year as a full-time employee. If you have 2 of them on staff, that's $60,000 to $120,000 per year just in mechanic salaries before they've fixed a single machine. In recent years, a new technology called string pin setters has entered the market. Instead of the traditional free-fall mechanism with thousands of parts, string pin setters use high-tension cords attached to each pin that guide them back into position after every throw. Fewer moving parts means fewer breakdowns. The machines are quieter, significantly quieter, and standard front-of-house staff can be trained to handle minor issues without needing a specialized pin setter mechanic on payroll. The United States Bowling Congress, which governs competitive bowling standards in America, has certified string pin setters for official sanctioned play. That removed the last barrier to adoption. The financial impact of making that switch is significant. Centers that have converted from traditional pin setters to string systems report annual maintenance cost reductions of 40 to 80% on affected lanes, plus monthly utility savings of $300 to $600 per 10 lane from reduced electrical draw. For a large center, that can mean over $100,000 per year in operational savings. Savings that go directly to the bottom line. But here's the danger that sits underneath all of this. Bowling centers carry enormous fixed costs and almost no ability to quickly reduce them when business slows down. Rent doesn't go down when it snows on a Saturday. The lease payment is the same in February as it is in July. Payroll doesn't shrink automatically when walk-in traffic drops. If you staffed for a busy weekend and the weather kept people home, you still owe those hours. The pin setters keep needing maintenance whether the lanes are busy or empty. And then there are the risks that no one can fully prepare for. A broken pin setter on a Friday night doesn't just lose you one lane's worth of revenue. If multiple machines fail, which happens when equipment ages without proper preventive maintenance, you might be sending customers home during your highest revenue hours of the week. A kitchen fire shuts down your entire food operation. A liquor license violation can cost you your bar permit. Economic downturns hit bowling centers in a specific way. Disposable income is the first thing families cut. A $45 lane rental for 2 hours becomes an easy line to cross off the budget when times get tight. The 2008 financial crisis closed dozens of independent bowling alleys across the United States that had operated in the same locations for decades. Families that had bowled together every Friday night simply stopped coming. And competition has changed permanently. A family deciding how to spend a Saturday afternoon in any mid-sized American city or suburb now has options that didn't exist 10 years ago. Indoor trampoline parks, escape rooms, virtual reality arcades, top golf locations with full restaurant service and technology-enhanced golf simulators, boutique mini-golf lounges with craft cocktail menus, axe-throwing venues, indoor go-kart tracks. All of these businesses are competing for the same 2 to 3 hour leisure window that bowling centers have traditionally owned. The rise of high-quality home entertainment has also cut into casual walk-in traffic. A family with a large screen television, a streaming subscription, and a good gaming setup at home has to make an active decision to leave the house and spend money on an outing. The bar for what that outing has to offer in order to justify the cost has risen significantly over the past decade. This is precisely why the shift toward the luxury bowling lounge model happened. Centers like Bolero's upscale venues and the original Lucky Strike locations. Before Bolero acquired the Lucky Strike brand in late 2023 for approximately $90 million, figured out that the customers most likely to spend freely on food, drinks, and events were not necessarily there for the sport of bowling. They were there for the atmosphere. The comfortable lounge seating, the craft beer selection, the social media-worthy lighting, the feeling of being somewhere that looks good and feels premium, where bowling happens to be the activity that anchors the evening, by redesigning bowling centers around that experience. Replacing plastic benches with leather couches, swapping basic concession pizza for chef-designed menus, installing programmable LED systems that shift the entire mood of the room with a button. Operators found they could charge significantly more per visit and attract customers willing to spend $60 or $80 per person in a single outing. Staying relevant in that environment requires continuous capital reinvestment. Lane surfaces need resurfacing every few years. Seating wears out. Arcade machines need refreshing as older games lose appeal. Digital booking systems and loyalty apps need constant updating. This reinvestment cycle doesn't stop. It keeps coming around every 3 to 7 years, and it costs real money every single time. Let's take a realistic mid-size bowling center. 20 lanes, a full kitchen, a bar, an arcade floor, party rooms, and a corporate events program. Located in a busy suburban market outside a major American city, on a strong year, good occupancy, healthy food and drink sales, solid event bookings. This center might generate $2 million to $2.5 million in total revenue. Roughly 35 to 40% of that comes from food and drinks, 20 to 25% from private events. The remaining 35 to 40% from lane rentals, shoe rentals, and arcade play. After paying all operating costs, labor, rent or debt service, utilities, food and beverage cost of goods, maintenance, and insurance. A well-managed center in this format might generate between $300,000 and $600,000 in annual operating profit. Now here's the catch. On a bad year, a slow economy, a harsh winter that kills 4 or 5 weekends, a competing entertainment venue that opens nearby, one major piece of equipment that requires unexpected replacement, that same center might generate the same revenue but face cost overruns that cut operating profit in half or eliminate it entirely. The gap between a strong year and a rough year for a center like this can easily be $200,000 to $400,000. That's not a rounding error. That's the difference between a business that's building equity and one that's burning through its reserves. And at the luxury end of the market, the boutique bowling lounge with craft cocktails, chef-driven food, LED mood lighting, VIP private lanes, and a social media-worthy atmosphere, the numbers get bigger in both directions. Bolero's best-performing locations operate at earnings margins approaching 30 to 35% of revenue. But the initial investment to build or renovate a venue to that standard can easily exceed $5 million, and the debt payments on that investment don't forgive you for a slow quarter. Before you go, if you want to go deeper on business strategy and financial analysis, check out the business guide linked in the description and pinned in the first comment. It covers some of the core frameworks serious operators use to evaluate and run businesses like this one. The final lesson of the bowling business is one that applies to almost every entertainment and hospitality business you'll ever encounter. You are not selling the thing you appear to be selling. Nobody goes to a bowling alley just to knock down pins. They go because it's their kid's birthday and they want to give her a day she'll remember. They go because it's the company holiday party and the marketing team needs somewhere to hold it. They go because it's Friday night and a group of friends want somewhere to drink, eat something good, and do something together instead of sitting at home. They go because it's date night and they want to do something different. The lanes get them in the door, the food, the drinks, the atmosphere, the arcade, the private event rooms, the shoe rental. All of that converts their presence into profit. The most successful bowling center owners understand this from day one. They don't run bowling alleys. They run social entertainment destinations where bowling is the anchor attraction. The business is the full experience. The customer's entire time inside that building, from the moment they check in at the front desk to the moment they walk out 2 or 3 hours later with their arcade tickets in hand. That is what separates the centers that thrive from the ones that quietly close after 2 years, wondering why a full parking lot wasn't enough to keep them solvent. The lanes attract. The experience generates profit. And understanding the difference between those two things is the entire economics of owning a bowling alley. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It means a lot and helps us keep making content like this. Thanks for watching.